Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 109. It's for the week of January 10th, 2021. I am your host, Drew. Welcome back, everybody. I am joined by Will. What's going on, dude?
What is up, Drew? How are you, man?
Man, it's a day.
It's
a day.
Monday.
It's Monday. You know, I had the day off, which is great and lovely and stuff. But man, it's been like really gloomy and just kind of crappy outside. And I don't know. I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was a really great day. And it's funny you mentioned that because I was actually looking at light therapy devices, which apparently exist.
Okay.
I just found out about them a couple days ago. And I guess they're really popular with kids and just people that work from home that are dealing with New England weather and just kind of seasonal depression.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently you just plug it in, you put it anywhere in a room, and it kind of recreates and simulates natural daylight.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting, and it's UV free apparently. So I guess you can't get sunburnt.
Well, that's good because both of us are, quite pasty. So,
dinner plate white. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, man, I've seen some of those as in terms of like wake up lights before. I've never seen one as like an all day light. So
yeah, they have both. I've seen the wake up ones, which are kind of interesting because they're supposed to mimic the sun.
Interesting.
As you wake up, and they're a little bit more orange, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. Might be worth checking
But yeah,
out.
you could try that. Just shine it in your face all the time. I mean, I could probably use this ring light, dude, on the cool setting on high and get the same effect.
That thing is bright AF. I have 3 lights on in my room right now just so I can be illuminated. The lava lamp doesn't count. And man, it's just not working out too well. Like I want to get like this nice cool like light set up and so far I just have lights pointing at the ceiling and I'm just kind of hoping for the best. So we'll get there someday though. You know, squad goals.
Praise the sun.
Hashtag praise the sun.
That's right. All the Soulsborne fans.
Oh, man. So just want to give a shout out to everybody in our Twitch chat. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by, making this a wonderful evening. If you are tuning into us for the very first time, swing on by our website at www.WDGRPodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast, of course. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can find me at ScienceStorm. Will, how can they find you?
SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
Excellent. And just want to give a quick shout out to first 2 people in the chat, Killer Sirach and Epic Outro. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming back again, guys. We really appreciate it.
Welcome back.
So we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We spent all of last episode talking about 2020, but we are in the second week of 2021 now, and there's a lot of gaming that's coming up on the horizon.
A lot. There's no doubt.
What I mean, let's just start from the top of the list, man. Like, what games are you looking forward to that have already been announced? They're coming out in 2021. Like, what do you want to see?
Sure. We made a list here, and for my list, I have 5 games. I'm sure there's probably more, but I put a decent amount of research into these. I'll just kind of shoot through them. So we have God of War Ragnarok for a lot of obvious reasons. Horizon Forbidden West, even though I haven't played the original game. That game just looks amazing. Stray, where you play as a cat.
Oh, yeah.
A cat with a backpack, I think. Looks pretty cool. Kena, Bridge of Spirits. And Returnal, a game developed by Housemarque, the same developers as Resogun. So those are my 5, and I have a bunch of reasons why.
Yeah.
I mean, I could dive into it now if you like.
Jump on in. Tell me. I mean, like, I kind of know about, God of War and Horizon, but there's a couple on this list I really don't know anything about. So break it down for me, man.
Sure. So God of War, I mean, this one's pretty simple. Absolutely cherish the first game. There's, no doubt about that. Most people did, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the sequel. I think a lot of people right now are curious as to who you're going to play. Is it going to be Kratos and Atreus again, or is it going to be more Atreus? We really don't know.
Mm,
There's very little out there, information wise, in terms of what to kind of build off of, besides just kind of lore from the first game. So naturally, I think that game is just going to look spectacular on the PS5. It's a Sony exclusive, so we all know how those look.
mm.
So ultimately, yeah, super pumped for that. Same with Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, this is another Sony exclusive. The trailer that we've seen is sort of like an action CGI trailer, so it's not gameplay.
Right.
But my God, I think everybody can recall that sequence where you see Aloy kind of in the water with all
Yeah.
like the sort of coral reefs
Mm-hmm.
and the seaweed and stuff. It just looked incredible. And I'm still really curious about the first game. So it's a game that I will be getting to potentially soon. So super pumped for that as well. Stray, as I mentioned, cat with a backpack. I love cats. We both do,
Yeah.
and it just looks different. I think that's something that we all want to see is a different game that kind of has sort of a AAA feel, and I think Stray seems to have both those qualities. And roaming around as a cat in what seems to be sort of a cyberpunky universe
Yeah.
potentially seems kind of interesting, really, and intriguing. So naturally, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. Stray is something that's like totally up my alley, and I just did a quick search to see if it was going to be available on Xbox, and it is not. It is coming to PS4 as well as PS5. I'm not sure if it's like a backwards compatibility thing or a dual launch or what the case is. But that's a game that I really want to play. It caught my attention when they debuted the trailer about a year ago. Was it now?
I think so.
Yeah, it looks
It may
cool.
have been.
It looks really cool.
It does look cool, and it's one of those games that sort of fell off the radar in some ways. I think a lot of folks have forgotten about it, but it's like
Mm.
one of those games, like, you have the same reaction that you had when you bring it up. People are like, "Oh, right, yeah, the cat game." So I'm interested to see where that one goes.
Yeah, me too.
Uh, Next, we have Kena Bridge of Spirits, also a game that I don't know a ton about, but the trailer that they released, which I think was only one around the same time as Stray, um, it just looks cool. It looks very enchanting. I think you play as a girl with magical powers, and try to remember like what else I kind of remember from the actual trailer, and I
Yeah.
just remember it looking really good, and it just looked like, again, one of those Sony exclusives that doesn't have blockbuster graphics, but it has like that sort of visual appeal that just has you intrigued and
Right.
wants you to you want to learn more about it. So I wish I had more to say, but it's just one of those things where you watch the trailer and you're just like, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to keep it on my radar. So
Just looking at some screenshots, it kind of reminds me graphically of remember that Xbox 360 game Cameo?
no.
I mean, this is like a launch title, way, way, way back. It had a very similar kind of like art direction.
Hmm.
It wasn't a game that I ever played, but it just this looks very much in the same kind of spirit of Cameo.
Yeah, and it's like a second new IP, for my
Mm,
list too, and I think that's really ultimately what I want to see. And
mm,
marking the third new IP, it would be Returnal,
right.
which again is developed by Housemarque. They did Resogun, which was a launch title for the PS4, and Returnal just looks badass. I mean, it's like this sci-fi adventure where it looks kind of horror-esque as well. I'm not
Mm,
really sure. Again, it's just one of those mysterious trailers where you're trying to understand what it's all about, because a lot of these games just haven't revealed that much. I want to say there was another trailer that just debuted at the latest Game Awards. Almost
mhm.
100% positive they brought Returnal in.
I mean,
But it's
looks like there's some stuff as recently as 3 days ago.
okay. Not aware
Um,
of that.
I don't know if it's a trailer or not. I don't want to load it up on my computer now and then blast the speakers and I can't hear you or something during a live stream. But yeah, there is some stuff. TechRadar.com has an article 3 days ago. Um, Heavenly Bullet Hell Shooter, referring it to. All right.
Yeah, it just looks cool, and that's my list for, officially announced games, and this is
Right.
kind of why we broke things apart this episode because there's a lot that we are looking forward to, but
Mm.
some of these games don't have dates or they haven't been announced yet. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's a strong list, man. There's some games on your list that I also really do want to play. I didn't include all of them. I did put Horizon Forbidden West on my list as well. I think that's a no-brainer. I'm
yeah, how
I'm
could you not?
determined. I'm determined to finish that game sometime soon. The original Horizon Zero Dawn.
Mhm.
It's just been like kind of really weighing on me a little bit these past couple weeks, and I want to circle back to it. I just want to kind of put the pin in it and call it a day with that game.
Sure.
So my goal is to try to finish that. Hopefully soon. Um, that is just such a wonderful universe that they've created, and very clever, uh, very special in a lot of ways. And the character of Aloy is a very special character too. I think she's empowering for women without it being a political agenda, if that makes sense.
It does.
She's a very strong character, and her compassion throughout the game really shines through in wonderful ways. And the gameplay in that game is just fantastic. The story is fantastic. It does not go in the direction that you would even think it goes in. Um, it's truly, truly a wonderful universe.
Love it.
Um,
Yeah, I really want to explore that game.
yeah, you're gonna be hooked. You're gonna be thoroughly hooked, and if you can manage to stay on path and ignore all the side quests, I think you could probably beat that game in, reasonable time. That's really where they get you, is those damn side quests, and you want to do them all because the game is fucking beautiful. Ah,
Yeah.
makes me so
What would
mad.
you say, or how long would you say the game is if you ignored all of them?
I've seen some people quote it somewhere between 20 to 30 hours.
Okay.
Um, I don't know how accurate that is because I have like 70. So
Oh my God. No
I
wonder you haven't finished the game.
yeah, I put a lot of time into that game. I mean, a lot of time into it. So I really owe it to
I
myself
didn't
to,
realize.
yeah, yeah. I gotta circle back and finish it up. So I also have Halo Infinite on my list,
Mhm.
and last I heard they were planning on doing a Christmas release for this one, but this game was supposed to launch with the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. It was delayed. It's been in kind of a development hell for a little while now, so I'm a little concerned. But Halo is inherently an Xbox franchise, and it's a ton of fun. I have a lot of fond memories of playing that game, as do you. When we hook up all the Xboxes and get those LAN parties going, and the early videos of Halo Infinite reminded me of that in a lot of ways. It just kind of had
Mhm.
that old school feel to it, and I was hooked. And I know a lot of people really threw that under the bus, saying it doesn't look like a series, next gen game. It doesn't look like it's anything special. But I disagree 100%. There were other things in that game that I was seeing that I guess maybe other people weren't. How quickly the textures loaded and how vast the landscape was. Details in certain areas. I think it has the potential to be great, but I'm being a little cautiously optimistic at this point, just considering everything that's been going on with development of it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm excited to see where it goes, though.
Me too. Me too. Next on my list is Axiom Verge 2, which is a side-scrolling Metroidvania with a kind of a I would say a 16-bit style to it. Very unique game. They took the idea of a Metroidvania and spun it on its head with different weapons and different technologies. But it is that you have this map and you're exploring and trying to get certain skills to allow you to progress to the next part of the game. Ton of hidden secrets. The first game is tremendous. I'm very much looking forward to the second one, and it's developed by a small team. It's very much an indie product. I don't know how many people exactly are working on it, but um, I don't think it's many.
Hmm.
Maybe less than 10, if I had to guess.
That's pretty cool, though. I've
Mm.
played some games like that before that literally have like a handful of developers on it, and sometimes the games you wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Axiom Verge 1 is if you're into Metroidvania style games, it's one of the better examples of it in modern times. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Back for Blood, I'm also looking forward to playing. I don't know how much
Mhm.
shelf life this game is going to have for me, because it is intrinsically a multiplayer game, but it is a spiritual successor to the Left 4 Dead series, which has been dormant for quite some time now. It's made
Hmm.
by the same studio that's responsible for the Left 4 Dead games. And I saw the trailer for it at the Game Awards, and I lost my shit. I'm like, oh man, we're back. This is gonna be so much fun, you know. So I have very fond memories of playing that with Vic and Kevin and some other people as well too. And those games were absolute blast. I remember John and I believe his brother too, Jerome, and we'd fire that up and play a few rounds. And man, those were some good times. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to getting that. And then let's see here. Outriders is next on my list, and I've talked about this game before. This is a Square Enix adventure in the same kind of style of Anthem, where you're doing multiplayer squad based combat. It looks like it has potential to succeed where Anthem has failed, but I'm super cautious on this one too, because looter shooters just have not been able to surpass what Destiny has done. And I thought Anthem was going to be it. It wasn't. Outriders has a similar vibe to it, similar look, similar style, where you have different people playing different classes to kind of chain skills together. And I think there's a lot of potential in this game, but I'm super cautious, very
Mm,
trepidatious about this one.
okay. I can't remember. Did you ever get into the Borderlands games?
I've tried. I I don't know what it is. I just never liked them. I've tried numerous times.
Yeah, because that would be considered a looter shooter, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think that that's probably like the best
Like the
version.
epitome of it.
Yeah, and I think in some ways it is. If you're doing like single player exclusively.
Hmm.
I don't remember if they ever added multiplayer to that game or not.
I don't remember either. I also could not get into it. I had a lot of folks pressuring me, like, dude, you got to play Borderlands.
Yeah.
And I couldn't digest the art style.
Mm-hmm.
And then that dude, Handsome Jack or whatever, that's like constantly like communicating to you. I'm just like, this game's silly as shit. I'm done.
Mm. Yeah.
I just didn't get it.
I don't mind the silliness of it, but it's a little too much maybe.
Yeah.
So, and then finally on my list, I got to add the Mass Effect remasters that are supposed to come out at some
Mm.
point this year. In typical Bioware fashion, they've already been delayed. Originally, they were
Oh,
saying March, and now it's quarter 1 of this year. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. I know March is in quarter 1. I'm just kind of being a technical nitpicker at this point, but uh, BioWare has really kind of they've been fucking up lately, and yeah, that's what else can I say?
well, I'd like to see that come out at some
Mm.
point because, as far as I know, the only way to play the trilogy is on PS3 or 360, right?
Well, it's on the Xbox side, it's backwards compatible all the way
Okay.
down, so it's a 360 release, yes, but I can play it on my Series X.
Maybe PS Now I could play all three. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would say it's worth looking into. Epic Outro notes it is on Game Pass. Yes, thanks to the EA Play inclusion in Xbox Game Pass, all of those games are available.
Yeah,
So,
I owe it to myself and many others, not to mention any
mhm.
names, but Raf and Joe.
Yeah,
Those guys have been hammering me to play those games for years.
yeah,
So I definitely need to get to them eventually.
they're tremendous, man. Mass Effect is one of my favorite franchises. I was wearing another Mass Effect hoodie today. So
It's like a staple in your
it
wardrobe,
really
dude.
is. It's kind of sad too, you know. Oh, excuse me. Um, but yeah, I mean that franchise just as a whole is pretty special to me. I have a Mass Effect poster in my room, nice and framed. I got it at Comic Con a couple years ago. Uh, Looks pretty sweet. It's Nomad, love it,
Easily some of the best sound effects I've ever heard in a video game.
and one of the best soundtracks too. The sound design as a whole in that game is tremendous.
Yes.
Um, so And I think I've pointed that out to you a couple times with some of your works. They're very Mass Effecty. So
Yeah, you shot me a couple links. I'm like, you know what? I could see the how he kind of drew these together.
yeah, yeah. What's next on our list, man?
So we have games that have been unannounced
Hmm.
for 2021. So what I mean by unannounced is really release date and year.
Mm-hmm.
But these are games that we'd like to see come out this year, if possible.
Hmm.
So again, these are announced games, just with no date or year yet.
Gotcha.
So I'll run through my list. We'll kind of keep this ball rolling.
Yeah, let's go.
Um, so we got Battlefield 6, a game I've
Hmm.
mentioned a couple times before for obvious reasons. Most know that I'm a huge fan of the series. I'd like to see what they do with 6. I think most people that play FPSs really want to know, are we going back in time again, or are we moving forward to modern? So I think that's going to be the biggest question that people want answered is, is this going to be similar to BF3 and BF4?
Hmm.
And even, well, actually 5, I think, goes back to World War II, I believe. Yeah, it does. So personally, I think I'd like to see something modern. Certainly nothing crazy like Call of Duty wall running or anything like in space. None of that, none of that jetpack stuff. So I don't think we would ever see that in Battlefield, but I
Hmm.
think we're probably going to get some sort of iteration that will be similar to 4, and I think most would be okay with that because 4 had a rocky launch and a rocky history as well. So if we can get a Battlefield 6 with, next gen, next console graphics, then I think a
Right.
lot of people are going to be happy. Next, Elder Scrolls 6. This one's interesting because recently, apparently, the official Elder Scrolls Twitter released an image of the map of, I want to say, Skyrim and other parts of the Elder Scrolls. And they teased something. I can't remember what the message was, but they teased something recently. And a lot of folks are saying that their theory, based on this tweet, is that the game is going to take place in a province called Hammerfell.
Hmm.
So that's pretty interesting for fans of the series. I don't know not much about the Elder Scrolls outside of Skyrim. I know about other releases like Morrowind and Oblivion and stuff, but I couldn't tell you anything to do with Hammerfell or the map. But it is kind of cool to see that they've tweeted something about the game because before this tweet, all we got was a trailer, like I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And it was really not very revealing. It's pretty vague. It was just kind of like this sort of drone shot over this sort of mystic world that looked amazing. But ultimately people want to know where this game takes place.
Right.
So really pumped for that. Hopefully there's a vampire lord that I can transform into.
Yeah.
Uh, Next game is an untitled game by Playdead, the studio behind Limbo and Inside. They teased a couple images some time ago. I don't even remember what they look like, but I put this game on there because I really love that studio.
So you're you're
I
you're
abs-
banking on the studio producing another quality title.
Yes, and
Mm.
I think that it will hopefully be a sort of spiritual successor to Limbo and Inside, more so Inside, because upon revisiting Limbo, I know you and I had different thoughts about it, and Inside was also another story. So
Mm.
um, I'd like to see something similar and have them take it a little bit further. I'm not sure how they're going to do this, but I trust in Playdead.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Black Myth Wukong, another game I've mentioned before. This is a game that was teased with actual gameplay. It's developed by a Chinese studio. Can't remember the name. As far as I know, there's still no release date or year, uh, but I'd love to see it this year. As much as all of us want to complete our backlog, I still want new games, and
Mm.
this is a game that I want to get hyped about. I want to pretend like I'm going to midnight release and then actually not go because I'm 35. So there's that. But hey, a boy could dream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We also have FF7 Remake Saga installments. I think everyone that has played the remake really wants to see where the rest of the series is going to go,
Hell, I
where the
do. I
game.
haven't even played it.
Right. And as far as I know, again, there's been very little, if not no information on when we're going to get the next installment, if and when, I
Yeah, I
guess
don't
you
believe
could
so.
say. So that's a little bit concerning, considering we haven't heard anything yet, but I'm convinced that this year we'll probably get some form of teaser. There's no doubt about it, because it would be hard to believe that they're not developing or working on developing the second installment already, if
Mm-hmm.
if not starting like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get something there. Bayonetta 3, I need to acquire a Switch before I can get truly pumped up about this game. But again, a series that most know I absolutely cherish. And we got a teaser again 2-3 years ago, and again there has been nothing in
Mm.
terms of release date or year. Not too concerned about this one because apparently Kamiya, who's the director of the Bayonetta games, I think that's his first or last name, can't remember,
Hmm.
but I think he confirmed recently on Twitter that the game is still in development. So and that was a recent tweet, so I don't have to worry too much.
Okay.
Next, we have Babylon's Fall. This is a game I know very little about, but it looks cool. It's a Platinum Games game, and I love Platinum Games. They put out really quality action games, and this one really lives up to that sort of action that you would expect from them.
Right.
Um, I want to say there's only like one, maybe two trailers, and again, no release date or year. So that's a game that's probably still in development. Last two, we've got Project Athia. This game I know almost nothing about, but
Yeah.
again, I saw a trailer for the. I think it came out when the PlayStation 5 did their showcase event,
Okay.
and it was one of the games that they debuted, and it was a brand new IP. AAA graphics just looks really cool, and yeah, that's all I got for that one. And
Okay.
then lastly, Jet the Far Shore. This is a game that I think that you should explore. It seems like a Drew game,
Okay.
and looks like a sci-fi adventure in space where you are in control of different spaceships and you're traveling across planets. And it just looks like a sort of really cool indie game.
I just Googled it, and on the description for the link for the official site, it says Jet the Far Shore is fixing to deploy to PlayStation and PC in 2021. Oh god.
Well, shit.
It's no, but I mean it's like it's fixing to deploy.
Fixin', I love that.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's like when you say I'm fixing to have a bowl of mac and cheese. I
Yeah.
know they say stuff like that down south, and I think it's pretty endearing.
Uh-huh.
Um, never catch me saying it, but that's
Oh goodness.
uh, but yeah, that's Jet the Far Shore, man. It just looks really cool.
Mm.
I think there's always a place for a really cool, interesting indie game, and this kind of looks to be that.
Yep.
Interested to learn more, and yeah, I think you should look into it.
So just a quick shout out, Pencilbird. Thanks for stopping by. Good to have you back. He says Battlefield 1 was my first, and that damn game was amazing. It looks so good. I laid prone in the desert just admiring the sand.
Mm,
It also mentions Starfield being slated to come out before Elder Scrolls 6. And there isn't really an official release date on Starfield, as far as I'm aware. It is one of the games on my list, despite knowing absolutely nothing about the game.
same.
It's
Makes
like
two of us.
Starfield is like, okay, buy Bethesda, and
Yeah,
it has star in the name of it, so I'm assuming it's in space. I gotta buy
hence the
it.
name.
I just
Yeah, you got to buy it.
I gotta buy it.
It's in space, yeah. Hence Jet the Far Shore.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just put it in space. But yeah, Starfield is on my list, and that is a game that I would really like to see at least something more about it in 2021. Even if they don't release it, just give us some details. You know, let us
Mm,
know what to expect, what the game's going to be like, what it's going to look like. Because I mean, look, if it ends up being Elder Scrolls in space, like that's dangerous. That's a game.
yeah,
That's a game that's never getting beat. Um,
right. That
so,
terrifies us.
yeah, but I mean, like, it's pretty vague. Like, I mean, I could go for like a Wing Commander esque, space sim. I think that would be fun. You know,
Sure.
take the dogfighting aspect out of No Man's Sky and just make a game about that. That
Hmm.
sounds like a blast to me. I don't know. I'm just speculating on complete nonsense. Uh,
I will say too, Pencil Burn, if you haven't already, check out the Battlefield 1 soundtrack because it is breathtaking.
mm. He says Mass Effect plus Fallout. That sounds good to me as well too. I wasn't a huge fan of the Fallout games, but that's more of a me problem than a Fallout problem. So, um, but I mean, like with Cyberpunk, you know that kind of genre is working for me, even though the game is incredibly buggy and has issues. I am having a
Mm.
good time with that game. So if they can kind of keep it on the same wavelength as that sort of thing and keep it in a universe that I'm really interested in, I'll stick with it. Uh, Speaking of unannounced release dates, I want my Cyberpunk 2077 patch for the next gen systems. God damn. Oh, the
I s-
HDR on that game is so fucked.
Dude, I gotta say, I was watching Damien's stream today, one of our good friends, Saikoro, and he was on a rooftop and he
Uh-huh.
passed like a flag that was supposed to be blowing in the wind.
Uh-huh.
And it looked so fucked up, man. Like I
Uh,
don't know what was going on with the engine or the graphics, but it was all distorted and I was like, shit, man, that sucks to see that.
oh man, there's so much potential. Like the story really is amazing. Um I don't know that it's amazing at the same level of some of the other games that have done this genre better. But it's engaging to me, at least. Let me put it that way. Like even the side stories, like I'm interested in what's happening to these characters. So for me, that's a good story.
Hmm.
Um, but the graphics are just like I
Tell me
was
what's happening.
so I just had a mission today. I played a little while this morning. I had a mission where I was being stealthy and stuff. Right. I snuck up behind this dude. I came up behind him. I killed him. He fell to the ground. So you can dispose of the bodies into like dumpsters throughout the game. And I had a hard
Okay.
time like picking up the equipment that he was carrying before I picked up his body. So I just grabbed the body, thinking that the equipment would still be on the ground.
Uh-huh.
Put him in the dumpster, and then I turned back around to grab the equipment, and the equipment was floating in midair. It
Oh
was
Jesus.
it was in a pouch, which I didn't know he had. It looked like his fucking lunch bag, and inside the lunch bag was like a fucking automatic rifle.
Oh man. Oh man.
Oh man. But anyway,
It,
yeah, it's an interesting game, that's for sure.
well, it seems like, based on what you said and even Damien as well, there's enough content that's keeping you guys engaged and invested, and
Hmm.
that's good. That's good. But, it's like we said before, if they could just patch up that stuff and it'll be less of a distraction because
Right.
it can be pretty deterring when you see stuff like that. Takes
Absolutely.
away from the experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen a ton of Johnny cigarettes floating in the air in that game, that's for sure. So it really is. It really does distract from the game, especially when like you're really into it, really feeling the gunplay or the story or whatever's going on.
The immersion, it breaks it.
It really does break it. Yeah. Let's talk about Road 96. This is a game that I saw the trailer for the first time at the Game Awards, and I don't know, man. It hooked me. Like it's some kind of a procedurally generated road trip, and just looks absolutely stunning. Um, it has that cell shaded vibe to it. Looks awesome. The teaser had had a song that was playing by somebody by the name of Toxic Avenger,
Okay.
and like I couldn't get that song out of my head for like a week. So I'm totally on board. I want to see what's going on with this game. I definitely want to play it, and I don't know if it's coming out this year or not, but I'm 100% in. Let's see here. Kind of on the same lines is another indie game called Season, and this one looks kind of similar in style, but I'm not entirely sure what the story is on this one.
Yeah, it looks fucking cool though, man.
It really does. Yeah. Eurogamer calls it a game about exploring and recording disappearing cultures. So it seems pretty interesting. Um, but the trailer looks cool. I don't know if this is going to be something that's available on the Xbox. I'm really not sure if that's going to be the case or not. Hopefully, it'll be something that I have access to. But we'll see. Eventually I'm going to pick up a PS5. I may have to wait on that one. And let's see here. What else do we have? Evil Dead. Evil Dead
Okay.
is going to be great. I don't care how bad the game is. I'm going to love every second of it. It's going to be fantastic. Cannot
Well,
wait.
it's supposed to be like a good bad though, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
a
I
like
mean,
silly as shit, but like done really well.
the entire franchise is that sort of thing, right? That's the whole foundation of the Evil Dead series. Tongue in cheek, horror, absolutely just off the wall crazy, blood, guts, stupid one-liners, and it's wonderful. That's the reason everybody loves it, and I'm 100% on board with that as well. So count me in for whatever Evil Dead game ends up being. I'll buy it day one, even if it gets like a Metacritic score of like 32, you know.
You should stream it on
Mm,
Retro.
that
That would
would
be a good one.
that would be fun. That would absolutely be fun. And finally on my list is Perfect Dark. Um,
Mm.
no idea when that's actually going to drop, but I am 100% into that as well too. I enjoyed the original games. I think it's been a long time since we've seen Joanna Dark on our screens, and this seems like a good opportunity to bring her back. You know, freshen the title up a little bit, maybe do something a little bit different with it than a first-person shooter. We'll see where it
Sure.
goes.
Yeah. I am interested because that game for the Nintendo 64 was really good. It was kind of like this spiritual successor to GoldenEye.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of their intention to make it that, and it kind of found its own niche, you know, but never quite reached the success that GoldenEye did.
Yeah, that's a hard game to topple.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Next list: wishful thinking games, games that are completely unannounced. We'd like to see in 2021.
Yeah, so these are like literally dream games, games that we have wanted to see for many years,
Mm-hmm.
or even a game that you just thought of recently. So quite the list for both of us. We'll kind of run through it. So I've got a Battlefield Bad Company 2 remake slash remaster because I'd be happy with either or.
Mm-hmm.
I think a remaster would be just fine for most, but I'm sure most people would like to see a remake. Is that going to happen? I doubt it. I think there's been a lot of banter about it for many, many years with Dice, and I just don't know if it's a focus for them.
Mm.
And it is a bit sad because there's a community out there that is absolutely obsessed with Bad Company 2,
Right.
and I think Dice recognizes that they really struck some magic when they made that game, and it's a shame that they don't want to rekindle it, or at least not yet. So
Right. Right.
we'll see. Next would be Battlefield 3 remake or remaster. I spent a good portion of my life in playing both of those games, and probably too many hours of my life. But it was a tremendous game, an amazing marketing campaign. It's some of the best marketing I've ever seen for a game ever. And I would love to see that game come back again in the form of a remake or a remaster.
Mm-hmm.
Number three on the list is Metal Gear Solid 6, a game that will probably likely never happen. But hey, again, a boy can dream.
Right.
Uh, the reason for that is just simple. I love the series. Everybody knows that. I mean, I freaking have a Solid Snake tattoo on my arm. Actually, it's Big Boss, but you get the point. And I just absolutely love that series, and I would just love to be able to sneak around the way that you can in MGS5,
Mm-hmm.
just with PS5 graphics and a new engine
Mm-hmm.
and Kojima behind the wheel. But that is a large order
Yeah.
that probably will, again, not happen.
Yep.
So
As Killer
next
Sirach
week,
mentioned, Konami dropped the ball here with their franchises.
yeah, I'm still kind of bitter in some
Mm.
ways about what happened to MGS5. Apparently, because of the ousting of Kojima, there was parts of the story that sort of got cut off and trimmed, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something I'd have to talk about at a different time.
Right.
We have Asura's Wrath 2, again, remake or remaster of one. Or actually, I'm sorry, Asura's Wrath 2 or a remake or remaster of one.
Mm-hmm.
Cherish the first game. Again, have a tattoo of that dude on my left arm.
Right.
So that makes two passionate series there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, this is a game that unlikely will happen, really just because I think that studio is either really kind of non-existent at this point,
Mm-hmm.
or if they are, they're probably working on something different. I think that was a really special game, and it was one of those games that just kind of came and went. Didn't get received that well, got received better later.
Mm-hmm.
But man, if they brought back just even a remaster of one, I think I'd be really content with that.
Right.
New Silent Hill, I think a lot of people want to see this one. Fantastic series, super creepy. It fell off after Silent Hill 4. I think most would agree with that one.
Right.
I think after that, it was Homecoming and then some PSP titles and a bunch of other hogwash that just didn't have good reception. Um, Apparently, there were rumors that Kojima and Norman Reedus were supposed to actually come out with a game called Silent Hills. And then there's been a little bit of sort of vague, cryptic banter about the series coming back recently. So we'll see. Um,
Yeah, I think.
Final Fantasy.
I'm sorry. I think that the that reboot of Silent Hill kind of became Death Stranding. that Norman Reedus partnership.
Yeah, it ended
You
up
know.
being I think it went from like Silent Hills, and then PT was apparently some sort of like teaser of that, something that they had started.
Hmm.
And then yeah, and then Death Stranding came to be because that partnership, didn't end. I
Right.
I I don't know if Kojima just said, "Okay, well, we can't do this, so let's do something different," or if he just had Death Stranding in the works the entire time.
Right. Right.
With Kojima, you never know.
Right.
Final Fantasy Tactics remake or remaster. Again, I'm putting this whole remake slash remaster thing because I'm really content with either or. I just like to see a lot of these games that are really beloved by a lot of people to come back in some way, shape, or form. And I think most would be happy with again either or. Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. This is something that people have been asking for years. We technically got it with the GameCube, but most know that that was just not really up to par. The graphics were good and the gameplay was good, but the cutscenes apparently in the dialogue and the script were completely altered. I know Damien can speak on that one because I'm pretty sure he played the whole thing.
Mm.
Um, but I'd like to see that. And there's strong rumors of that actually happening. I don't know if it's completely confirmed, but there was supposed to be a movie as well, and I'm not sure what happened with that either.
Hmm. Hmm.
Last two, Sekiro 2. There's a good chance this could happen. The first game was a massive success, so I wouldn't doubt it that FromSoft could, work up another one or at least a nice fat DLC for us to partake in.
Hmm.
And then lastly, this one's huge for me. Spoken about it before. All the Metal Gear Solid games need to be playable on the PS4 and PS5,
Mm.
or at least the PS4. This is an ongoing struggle that I still have a hard time wrapping my head around. I don't understand why such a beloved series is not playable on either one of these systems, or at least not fully. The last time I checked, which again was recently, the only way that you can play through all these games, with the exception of five, is to have a PS3
Yeah.
or an Xbox 360. I want to say you might be able to do most of them on the Xbox One with backwards compatibility,
Hmm.
but I do know that if you want to just play the series again from start to finish properly, you need a PS3 and you need the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection, which
Okay.
is what I have, and even that's kind of hard to find. So I just find it incredibly mysterious and strange that again, such a beloved series is so difficult to play on even a PS4,
Mm.
a system that came out in what 2013.
Yeah.
So I really, really need to see those games get ported over and ported over well, and not botched up
Yeah.
like the Silent Hill remasters that we got forever ago.
Yep. Yep. Um, yeah, I mean, if you could play those games on the Xbox One, you'll be able to play them on the Xbox X or Series X or Series S. So,
There we go.
I mean,
At least there's that, I guess.
if it's worth it to you to drop $300 on a Series S to play those games,
Well, I mean, hey, your boy's still got a PS3 over here,
I know, I
so
know. I'm
I,
just offering some solutions.
I know. Oh my God. That
uh,
suggestion will never die, folks, by the way. For anybody that's new to the show, I'm constantly being asked to get a Microsoft system.
oh goodness. Well, you got to give me a reason not to try.
No, it's endearing.
Mm.
What do you got, man? What's your list?
Uh, let's see here. I kind of took a little bit of a weird turn with some of mine. I do want to see a Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 announced.
Mm,
I doubt it's going to happen in 2021. Even though I still haven't played the original, I think it's time for some information. So if they want to shadow drop it on the PS5, like that's cool. Go ahead and do it. But I think fans need something.
mm.
Like at least some breadcrumbs for it.
That's a good way of
Um,
putting it. Yeah.
let's see here. As I also want to see some hardware, man. I want a Dreamcast Mini. I want a
That'd be
Dreamcast Mini.
spectacular.
Oh man, it would be so great. Um, just give me that. Give me that. I won't buy another game this year if you give me that.
Let me ask you this. Would you want it just looking like literally exactly the same, like just shrunken down?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Make it the
Same
same.
controller.
Yep.
So let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Same size controller with a shrunken down system?
Well, you have to have the same size controller. You can't shrink the controller.
I guess you couldn't, huh?
If you shrink the controller, then it's just not the same experience. It wouldn't work.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess the reason why I mentioned it is because the Dreamcast controller is so large to begin with that maybe they
yeah,
could shrink it a little bit. But I think you're right. If they did it at all, it would have to be very, very small increments.
it's about the size of my face.
Not to say you have a big face, but I
Well,
mean, it is a big controller.
I have a big head and it's a big controller. So anyway, um, yeah, man. I think that would be fun. And I know there's been a couple third party controllers. I think 8-bit or the same company that did the retro brawlers for the Nintendo 64. They've done a
Was it
Dreamcast controller.
8-bit do or something like that?
No, it's a different company. They 8-bit though kind of focuses more on the wireless Bluetooth controllers. This was
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this was a hardwired controller. Um, I have to look into it, but there is a aftermarket solution that has come out in the past couple years that apparently isn't too bad. Um, but yeah, just give me that and like a pile of their more hard to find games and
Blue Stinger.
yeah. Okay. Epic Outro wants a Sega CD and 32X Mini. Yeah. Don't we all, buddy? Don't we all? And while we're talking about minis, let's go for a Game Boy Mini or even a Game Boy Advance Mini. I
Mm.
wouldn't necessarily say make it a mini, like just make it the same size as the existing one, but load a bunch of shit on it and let's call it a day. Those games, um, they're so tiny. You could put like 100 games on one of those and it wouldn't even like bat an eye. You know what I mean? So
Let me ask you this, Drew. Are you
yeah.
concerned that the sort of ramp up and the acceleration that we had with the sort of shrunken down miniature systems has hit a lull, or do you think that it's potentially ended?
um, it's probably ended. I
Mm,
think I whenever Nintendo inevitably decides to do their next one, I think the I think they'll kind of surge up again.
mm,
There's not a lot of systems left to do that. I think people have a ton of interest in.
mm,
The TurboGrafx Mini was strictly for a niche market, right? Sega Mini and the PlayStation Mini, I think those had wider appeal. The Sega Mini was pretty successful, but you can find those pretty cheap. Like they don't hold their value like the Nintendo stuff does. So I kind of hate to say it, but Nintendo really is dictating the market. I think in a lot of these cases.
mm.
Epic Outro notes that the Sega said they wanted to do a Dreamcast Mini, but it's at least 2 years away.
Hmm.
That's heartbreaking, but okay.
Yeah,
um,
I don't really know what to say about that one. All you can say to that is maybe they just really want to take their time with it so it becomes
yeah,
something special.
maybe. I mean, they did a great job with the Genesis. I don't think a lot of people really got into it. A lot of people played it. But the interface and everything about that system was critically well received. I wish I spent more time with it than I did. I really would like to circle back and like sit down with that and really dive into some of the games on there because I didn't really have too much access to a Sega Genesis when I was younger.
Mm.
It was a good opportunity to get a good sampling of games. So
That's a good point. As much as I'd love to see a shrunken down N64, it may not happen because, from like a financial success standpoint, I don't know if it was as a success as the Nintendo original and the SNES, which we've already seen
yeah,
shrunken down.
I mean the N64 has a lot of fans, but um, quite frankly, the PlayStation trounced it.
Yeah,
You know,
big time.
um, that that look wasn't a good look for Nintendo. That graphic style. You know, there's some great games that came out of that generation for Nintendo, but as a whole, I think the N64 just really didn't hold up to what the other consoles were doing at the time. So,
Great.
um, as far as back to the games go, I was really enjoying Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I'd love to
Hmm.
see a sequel, Fallen Order 2.
Mm.
There's been some buzz going on with the Lucas films becoming like getting their own games division. So a lot of people are kind of wondering what's up in the air with them. I guess we'll find out. No information yet. Just seems like they're trying to brand all the games under one development umbrella. I don't know if it's going to be just a publishing house or a development house or what the case is, but Electronic Arts is involved in this. So I'm gonna have to figure all that out. And then I'd like to see another Knights of the Old Republic. Give me a KOTOR
Yeah.
3. Those games are awesome, and it's another franchise. It's been a while. Let's break those games out. Let's get another one.
Were
And
you, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to segue in here. Did you ever get the chance to play a lot of like the Factor 5 Star Wars games like Rogue Squadron 1 and 2 and what was the other one? Uh, a lot of the Rogue Squadrons were Factor 5
okay,
and that was all like N64 era. But I
okay.
know that that studio had they were putting out some really good Star Wars games at the time and I'm not really sure
Mm.
what happened to that team.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Um, I've dabbled with them. I haven't spent any serious length of time with them.
Fair enough.
So, and finally on my list, I'd love to see a new Star Trek game in 2021. Um,
Mm.
and a good one, not a shitty one.
What was the last one? Was it the VR one?
Yes, yes. Which I never
Bridge something?
bridge commander or bridge crew or something like that. I never had an opportunity to play it. Apparently, it was well received, but you
Okay.
had to find multiple people that had VR headsets to play, and
Hmm.
copies of the game, and it was a little more challenging.
Yeah, I could see that.
But from everything that I've seen about it, it looks like a lot of fun. Prior to that, I think the last Star Trek game on console was probably the movie tie-in back in 2009.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's
So,
time to it's time to sit, Drew. So stand by.
oh boy, here we go.
The
Here we
old
go.
man's ready to sit down.
This is gonna be all clunky and chikunky, and that's
All right, that wasn't so bad.
much smoother than usual. I commend you.
Yeah, I was actually a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty nervous that that was not gonna pan out well.
Oh goodness.
All right, there we go. Cool.
All right, so let's move on to our next topic, shall we?
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
This is going to be gaming resolutions and goals for 2021.
Mm,
Something that I think the both of us have probably written down some
mm.
of these
Yep.
because we're pretty focused on how we're going to tackle this year differently. And why don't we switch it up
Mm-hmm.
and we'll go to you first,
Okay.
and you'll give me some reasons or not some reasons, give me some goals and some resolutions that you'd like to accomplish this year for
Yeah.
gaming.
I mean, I think first and foremost, my biggest one is to not stress about the backlog. You know, that's
Very
something
good one.
that's something that we've talked about a lot on the show over the years, and it is a constant reminder of all these different games that I've purchased and never played, or that I want to play, and either have access to on Game Pass, or maybe it's on sale super cheap. And I think just ultimately, what I need to do is just not worry about it. Because the more I worry about it, the less that I actually accomplish, and nothing gets done, nothing gets played. Um,
Hmm.
and these next two items go hand in hand with that. I need to play what I want to play, and I need to beat what I want to beat, and not worry
These are
about.
really good.
I got to stop focusing on playing games that are just not doing it for me. You know, I need to be a little bit more ruthless with the games that I abandon, and how much time I put into something before I step away from it, without finishing it. Um,
Couldn't
and
agree more.
and it's kind of funny that I'm saying this out loud because, I just recently finished a game that really wasn't hooking me as much as I thought it would, but because I knew it was a shorter game, I stuck with it. So I kind of feel like I've already contradicted myself, but here we are. And that game was Call of the Sea. We'll talk about that next week, I believe, or the week after. But you know, I just want to enjoy the gaming time that I have. I don't want it to feel like a chore, I guess, is ultimately what I'm worried, trying to get across.
Hmm.
Um, and I really want to try to diversify my gaming habits away from the Xbox platform. I was really good about that at the beginning of the year, and then Game Pass started releasing some bangers, and I bought some games on the system, and then I got the Series X, and I found that the second half of 2020, I really stuck with the Xbox almost exclusively. I have a lot of great titles on both the Switch and the PS4 that are deserving of my time and attention, and I need to make sure that those systems get that love. So I really want to be more conscious of it. I don't know how. I don't know in what way I'll determine whether I'm playing something on one system versus the other, but I got to figure it out because the PlayStation 4 and the Switch, they're literally collecting dust.
Mm. I've been there, man.
Yeah.
I've absolutely been there.
And then finally, I want to keep a gaming journal. And this is something I've already implemented. I want to keep track of the start date, the end date. When I finish a game, if I abandon a game, or if it's a game that really has no ending, something like Tetris. Maybe I started playing it and it just doesn't end. I want to keep track of like some notes, like a 5-star review of it, just for myself. Something that I can look back on at the end of the year and look through all the games that I played and say to myself, wow, there was really a lot here that I did. Because when we were talking last week about 2020 and we were giving out our Willies and Drewies, there were quite a few points where I was struggling to remember the games that I had played and beat. And I feel like I ignored some titles that maybe if I had written down that I played them, it would have at least been a little fresher on my mind when we were having our discussions.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
I think we both talked about that. It sucks when you can't remember, well, really anything, but especially when it comes to this.
yeah.
I think, keeping progress or keeping tallies on your progress is so important.
Yeah.
Again, really with a lot of things in life, but absolutely this, because we owe it to ourselves to keep track of what we're doing, and it feels good, when you can look back and be like, damn, dude, I beat like 10 games in 1 month, and I
Right.
know exactly what games they were. I know how long it took me to beat them. And it ultimately just feels good.
It really does.
Having that progress there on paper or even in a digital form, for you to just kind of look at any time really kind of keeps the momentum going.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Pencil Burn says 10 games in 1 month. Yeah, right.
Hey,
If you can do it, good for you, man.
It's possible, but that's extreme dedication. And that's even with like indie games, I think that's extreme dedication.
It is. And shout out to Saikoro Twitch. Thank you for joining us today. Good to see you back, buddy. Thanks for stopping by.
Welcome back.
Will, tell me about your gaming resolutions and goals for 2021.
Yeah, I mean, really similar. I think we're on the same wavelength here. I want to conquer the backlog, but at the same time, I don't want to stress about it. And I think that's so key because, again, you and I really have picked this one apart for a long time, and most people still do. I mean, shoot, we found articles on it recently, and I bookmarked some of those because the advice in there is different than what I thought was going to be the right method to get through it.
Right.
And I think this idea of, like you mentioned, playing games that you don't really like, just for the sake of, adding them to the chalkboard is not really the right approach.
Right.
And I also don't think it's the right approach to go after the smaller games necessarily before the larger ones. And I still tend to try to do that because it seems to make the most sense, sort of instinctively.
Right.
But lately I've been taking another approach, which is I'm going to play a game that I just have a hankering to play.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to stray away from it anymore. If I like it, I need to stick with it. And that worked this weekend. I'm going to be talking about that particular game in a couple episodes from now. But that is my goal number one: conquer the backlog, but don't stress about it.
I like it.
Second one, acquire a Switch again for Bayonetta 2 and 3 and games I already own. There are some games on there like Astral Chain that I've mentioned several times before that I'd really like to play. And I just want that system again. I had the same problem that you're having with some of your systems now where it was just collecting dust. And I felt like I didn't really deserve it. And I bought it too soon and I bought too many games too quickly for it. And I wasn't in the right sort of mind frame or mindset to really kind of tackle those games. But I think acquiring one again this year, I think is going to be more viable, and I can see myself finally getting to those games. So that's goal number 2. 3 is play on a regular basis / weekly. I think this is super key because even just this weekend, I really kind of sunk my teeth into a game and just kind of sat down and did nothing else but that. And even though my eyes were bleeding by the end of Sunday, like even Lauren's like, honey, your eyes are red. Why are they red? I'm like, honestly, it's probably because I played a game all weekend and I never do that.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound so incredibly redundant for a lot of folks, but nothing beats just literally sitting down and playing a game and
Mm.
not doing anything else. And I know that's, again, sounds so redundant because that is the whole point of playing a game. But because of the distracted world that we live in, that again, we've talked about so many times before, it's hard to just sit there and focus and just
Mm.
plug away. But man, when you do and the game is clicking, something happens. And I think all gamers know what that thing is that we can't really describe, but something kind of clicks in and you're buckled in and you don't want to get out of the car anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling to have. And I think it rekindles that excitement for gaming that I think we lose sometimes with bouncing around too much in between games.
I before you continue, I just like when hearing you say that gives me anxiety. Cuz
Not
like
wanting to get out of the car
no, like the whole idea of just hunkering down and doing nothing but playing a game for a length of time, like
takes real commitment, man, when
it
you're a married
does.
adult.
It does, and like it just makes me feel like anxious, like I should be doing something like else,
Oh
like
yeah.
like yesterday, like I was sitting around doing almost nothing all day, and like at like 6 o'clock, I'm like, I had to do something, and I grabbed my fucking power drill and I ran Ethernet cable down into my basement, like,
Dude, I've so been there, man. It's like a weird bug that, it's like a splinter in your mind
yeah,
that you just have to learn to just leave it there
I guess.
and let it bother you. And I know that's kind of a weird metaphor, but it's true. Like I actually had to prep myself. I had to psych myself up. I had to
Mm,
tell Lauren, I was like, "Hey, today I'm playing this game and I'm probably going to play it all weekend." And I
mm,
had to make it like a sort of this verbal announcement, not only to kind of psych myself up for sticking with it, but also to let her know, like, "Hey, as
don't
your
bother me.
husband, I'm gonna be like busy, like doing something I normally don't do, but I
Yeah,
need to do this."
yeah.
And I had a lot of stuff that I was already caught up on, laundry, all that kind of crap. And I was like, you know what? You don't have any excuses this weekend. You have nothing going on. Don't try and create something that you know doesn't really exist,
Right.
even though you want to. And just sit down and sink your teeth in and do not let go. And I'm so glad that I didn't. And I really hope I can keep that momentum going into the rest of the year.
I'm glad
Um,
it worked out for you.
it did. And like I said, I just hope I can stay strapped in. Next one is engage in multiplayer games. I think this would be a good healthy practice for really everybody.
Mm,
Um, I think single player games have certainly taken over in some ways in the past like couple of years, and I think multiplayer games have a good place in gaming because it keeps you engaged with a group of friends,
mm-hmm.
generally the same group, and keeps you more focused on just gaming in general. So I think it's a good habit to get into if you're struggling to just kind of hunker down with gaming in
Mm.
general.
Yep.
More co-op games, very similar aspect here. Being able to play with somebody else is way more engaging than sometimes playing with just yourself. So I think that's something I'd like to try. The debate really is like what co-op games are out now. What is there to play because it's not something that you typically hear about. Is all these like crazy co-op games that everyone's playing. So I'd like to venture out of the Dark Souls series as well because that's ultimately like my go-to when it comes to co-op. So
Well, you've
sorry, Tom, as much as I want to plug through this series, I would like to try something else as well.
you have made some strides into other co-op games. Um, so Portal. You've been playing
That's
Portal.
true. That's
Portal 2.
true.
What a tremendous game that is.
I'm really looking forward to getting back to that,
Me
man.
too.
I know we didn't do it this past weekend, but we're going to get to it again soon. And then the last one was abandon games more frequently if things aren't clicking in a respectable amount of time.
Mm.
Again, something that we've kind of rehashed several times, but for good reason. I think it's really important that when you do have a backlog as large as ours, it's important to recognize when things aren't clicking and you have to be okay with it. And it's hard because, again, you're thinking about the money you spent, you're thinking that it's a box on your checklist that you need to check
Mm.
because we get into that mindset of like no don't leave a stone unturned. Like you have to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's almost imperative at this point to be able to make that decision and be cutthroat about it and be like,
Yeah.
you know what, it's not working. Literally end the game, and if you need to, delete it off your hard drive as well, so you're not tempted to force your way through it. And I had to do that with a few games. And Child of Light, I think, was one of the last games I had to do that with. But
Mm.
it's incredibly empowering to be able to let go of something that isn't clicking and then sink your teeth into something that you fall in love with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's heartbreaking and awesome at the same time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. As a completionist, you want to be able to
Oh yeah.
play a game that you even if you spent $10 on it, I still just want to like do
Right.
it.
Right. Exactly. I feel the same way, man. I mean, but it just doesn't get you anywhere because then you just have this weight on your shoulders. I mean, I talked about beating Horizon Zero Dawn so many goddamn times. Maybe I should just abandon that. You know.
I mean, did you finish the main story?
No.
Okay. So I think you probably owe it to yourself to wrap that one up.
Yeah. Uh, this is a good idea coming from Epic Outro. I sometimes have to delete the save data just to make the decision to abandon a game final for myself. Wow.
I have done that many, many times. I have done that. I do that too when I've started a game that I've tabled and then I go back to it, say a year later. I'll make sure that I start the game fresh. I don't pick up from where I left off. I don't think that there's a purpose in doing that, especially when there's been that much of a gap.
Depending on the length of the game, I'll start over, but I'm not starting a Horizon over. No
No,
way.
absolutely not.
Fuck
70
no.
hours? Are you kidding me?
No way, no way. And
No.
I mean, like, there's certain games you could pull that off with, and certain games that you really can't. It really depends on how well the game holds your hand. I had stopped playing Prey from 2017 for a couple months, maybe 3 months, 4 months. And when I went
Mhm.
back to it, I had no idea what was going on. I had no clue how to control my character. I've forgotten everything about the game. And
It's dangerous.
I put it down and I walked away and I haven't touched it since. And I feel really
Yeah.
bad about that because that was a great game, but it just getting back into it was going to be more challenging than I thought it would be.
It's a weird thing, isn't it, dude?
It
Like,
is.
because sometimes that can be bad.
Yeah.
It's like there's no perfect scenario. The most perfect scenario is to stick with a goddamn game.
Right.
Is like when you love it, do not put it down. Keep
Right.
going with it. And again,
Mm.
I just think that I really hope I can keep that momentum going this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. Let's see here. So, what do we want to see from the gaming industry in 2021?
Hmm. I mean, I could probably wrap this up with one solid answer.
Yeah.
I just want to see new IPs, man. Really cool looking new IPs, new games. As much as I'd love to see all these remakes and remasters, and I even put in here less of those,
Mm.
so which is kind of counterintuitive. But as much as I'd like to see sequels to games I'm more familiar with, there's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, I think I want to see fresh, new games. Stuff like Project Athia, Returnal, the PS5 tech demo. Give us new stuff
Mm.
that we can really be excited about. And that's not to say that we can't be excited about some of these games that we are more familiar with, but I want to be excited off of something on a clean slate.
Yeah.
And I want to
Um,
see games that are finished as well. I think that was another thing I put in there.
yeah.
Finished games that are maybe need a light patch day one or something like that, but no more cyberpunk issues.
Yeah. For me, that was basically my number one issue. No more game crunch.
Yeah,
Full
that's a good
stop.
one.
Because when you have game crunch, it is a snowball effect on all these other issues that we talked about. You have a game like Cyberpunk that's inherently broken on multiple systems on day one. Day one patches seem to be inevitable nowadays. I am not a fan of it, but it is the world that we live in. So
Hmm.
if that's going to be the key to getting these games out to people, make sure that you're not crunching to do it. You're putting developers in mental and physical stress that
Hell.
is literal hell. They're working 80, 90 hours a week, if not more. They're not seeing their families. They're working through holidays. They're working through weekends. I think it's Supergiant Games has gotten a lot of positive press for strictly enforcing a 40-hour, 5-day week, and not allowing their employees to do any crunch whatsoever, not allowing their employees to miss birthdays and weddings and holidays, and enforcing mandatory vacation time. And more companies need to do that. You know,
Hmm. I
um,
think it shows too,
it
like
does.
somehow that you can't put your finger on it, but it shows when you play a game when you're aware that the studio is healthy.
Yeah, it absolutely does, because the studios that are unhealthy release broken games. Cyberpunk, Anthem, those are just two of the examples off the top of my head. But I
Hmm.
mean, I'm sure we could sit here and really nitpick like half a dozen more,
Oh yeah.
and it wouldn't be that hard. So just let's put an end to that. Follow Supergiant's example and adapt those policies. There's no reason in 2021 that any of these studios should be going through with this, like this lifestyle, especially with COVID and people working from home. It's just not acceptable. It's just
Yeah.
not
I
acceptable.
I agree, and I'm actually glad that I brought up my list because I did want to mention, and I think I added these today, more focused, structured experiences. And what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by this is, it's kind of hard to explain, but I think we can all agree that a lot of games that come out now are just absolutely massive, and in a lot of ways, it feels like they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger for the sake of just being bigger. How can we fill more time in this gamer's life? How many more
Mm,
tasks can we dump on this gamer to keep them immersed in the game? And
right.
sometimes that works, but I think that there's a place for games to be more structured, meaning there's a game loop that's structured within the game that keeps you going, and you're not just sort of doused in all these additional things that even you mentioned in Horizon Zero Dawn.
Mm,
Maybe less of that. I'm not just going to say that a lot of these side quests are bad, but I think that we can all admit that some of them do get repetitive. Some of them do get too distracting, and I think it
mm-hmm.
takes away from the structure of what should really be prevalent in a game at the end of the day.
There's a lot of memes about um, Cyberpunk and the constant phone calls that you'd get delivering side quests.
Okay.
There's a
Can you
one.
turn your phone off?
Unfortunately, no, you
Okay.
cannot. It's just you move into an area and it's just an onslaught of just phone call after phone call from all these different characters that are looking for you to accomplish tasks for them. And man, it's something. It's like you finish one side quest and you got three more lined up. Just because you finished the end of that last one, you just happen to be in that neighborhood. Um,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
I
and the side quests are engaging. Like they're not bad. It's just like, come on, like just give me a chance, man. you know. Uh,
yeah, no, I agree, man, and I think Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that I haven't even really dabbled with that much, is a perfect example of what games should actually stray away from because that game doesn't I personally think doesn't really have a lot of structure because yeah, you're a cowboy, yeah, you're in a gang and there's all this stuff you can do.
mm,
And I know that's the point, but there's almost like a game within a game within a game in that game. There's
mm,
too many games within a game.
right.
And it becomes like, okay, I got to shave now. I got to change my outfit
Yeah.
and I understand that that's the idea with these kind of games, but I'd like to see um, more of a focus on what you actually have to do. And I haven't played Miles Morales Pencil Burn, but I could see why you probably mentioned that because you've played Spider-Man, Drew,
Yes.
and I'm sure that even just swinging around on that web is enough to make a game great if
It,
it's done well.
it is. I mean, that's a very focused experience, and there are side quests, but they're really inobtrusive. It's just a marker on a map that you can or cannot go to, and you certainly are rewarded for completing them. But it got to the point with the original Spider-Man where I looked at some of those side quests and just said, these are just not worth doing, and I didn't do them, and I didn't feel like it sacrificed the game itself. I was still able to complete the story and enjoyed it thoroughly.
Mm.
It didn't. Those side quests didn't detract from the game. They were completely fringe items. that were just there to enhance the gameplay, give the players an opportunity to do something a little bit different from what you were already doing. They were challenging, but completely optional.
Yeah. No, it's I hope that we can see more of that, more structure, more focused
Yeah.
gameplay this year would be good.
I had mixed feelings about Call of the Sea when I was playing that, but it was a very focused game. Your job was to solve puzzles, and that was it. So, and in that respect, I think it succeeded.
Yeah, and what's funny is sometimes that's not enough. Like when you have too little of a gameplay loop, it's sometimes you want more. So it's hard to find that balance, and I think that's why it's worth worth putting on this list for this year.
Absolutely. So that's those are our topics, man. did we miss anything? Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
I don't think so, man. I think ultimately the goal of this episode was to give some insight on what's going on in our minds in terms of this year, and what we want to see, what we want to accomplish, and I hope all the listeners can get a good idea of what we want to do.
Yeah, hopefully. So first of all, shout out to the Twitch room. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of this. You guys make these Twitch podcasts a lot of fun. We've been enjoying these past few weeks. So thank you for joining us. Check us out on the web at www.wdgrpodcast.com. Of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WDGR Podcast. Will, how can they find you?
SoundCloud.com/Will_gear.
You can find me on Twitter at ScionStorm. And we'll see you next week, folks. I guess that's it.
Take care.